Ladies, gentlemen, distinguished judges and fellow speakers, what's the crack? In the famous poem If by Rudyard Kipling, it states that to be humble, patient, rational, truthful, dependable and persevering is what makes a man. I, on the other hand, believe that these are all the attributes of a woman. It says, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but making allowance for their doubting too, I mean, come on. Maybe some bloke in 1943 didn't realise the woman's brilliant qualities, but the world should today, shouldn't they? £10 trillion is the estimated value of unpaid work performed by women every year across the world. This is twice as much as men. 64% of the world's illiterate population are women. There are more CEOs called John than women CEOs altogether. Globally, half the population are the underdogs, unrecognised, unappreciated, disrespected. Men are not to blame, but the patriarchal plinth they stand upon. Still yet, men can be a major part in this solution. Men and boys need to play a larger part in tackling gender equality for women. In most cases, men are the decision makers with all the power. The fate of gender equality is largely in their hands as they have the ability to change legislation and to ensure these equal rights and opportunities. Imagine, it's Friday night. All your mates are going out. You ask your mum if you can go out too. But of course she says, without a doubt, without a second of thought, ask your father. This is the devastating reality for many young people across the country. But of course I'm joking. But this power dynamic and traditional patriarchal attitude is prevalent worldwide. Why should dad have to make all the decisions? Surely mum knows what's best for me. She knows what it's like to be a young woman. 77% of the world's politicians are men. Half of the population are overly represented and the other half barely at all. But this 77% can change a lot of things. This 77% has the power to empower. Their ability to change legislation can change my life, your sister's life, a girl in rural Kenya's life, a mother in Kolkata's life, and many more. Their participation of men and boys is vital to achieving the 5th Sustainable Development Goal. Gender equality is truly in their hands. In Rwanda, before 1994, women were not given permission to speak in public. After the Rwandan genocide, the country's population moved to 60 to 70% women. The shortage of men meant that women had to step into the workforce, taking on jobs that a year earlier would have been unheard of. The new government soon realised that to rebuild Rwanda, they needed women. They immediately implemented new policies aimed at getting women into positions of power. In their constitution, it includes their commitment to equal rights for men and women alike. It also states that 30% of representatives at all government levels must be women. The strides made by men and women in Rwanda has made Rwanda one of the top most gender equal countries in the UN. Men's contribution to gender equality does a lot more than just benefit women. In fact, there is a potential of an increased gross domestic product of between 15 and 45% in the EU member states if gender employment gaps are eliminated. Male employers must not think of what equal pay will cost them, but what they will gain from giving equal pay. More opportunities for women could also mean more opportunities for men. By helping the progress of gender equality for women through legislation, many barriers are broken down, one of which being social norms. If instead of women being the principal caregivers and sacrificing their careers, men could also share each responsibility equally. In doing this, gender roles are challenged. In Iceland, each parent receives 3 months parental leave and a further 3 months to share between them. This promotes an equal caregiving responsibility, and it also discontinues the harmful stereotype of men being incompetent carers or the sole breadwinners. It gives both women and men a chance to tackle these restraining patriarchal standards that are both outdated and disadvantageous. When the world says, I'm allowed to cry, but my brother is told to toughen up, that's why we need men to stand up for gender equality. When 150 million girls today will never enter a classroom That's why we need men to stand up for gender equality. When suicide is the leading cause of death in men in the UK, aged 20 to 50, that is why we need men to stand up for gender equality. Gender equality is not a women's issue, but a global concern. As Hillary Clinton once said, women are the largest untapped reservoir of talent in the world. I believe that the woman's unrecognised potential is a travesty. There are infinite ideas and inventions in a woman's mind, and it is up to men to pass the microphone and let them be shared. Imagine how different the world would be if all women were given the right to express themselves, to educate themselves, to be themselves. All I know is that the world would be a much happier place. Men and boys need to play a larger part in tackling gender equality for women because it is not just about women. It is about every human's well-being, present and future. It's about waking up in the morning, no matter what corner of the world you're in, and feeling safe in your own skin, knowing that there are no limits to your expression. So, to the male 77% of the world's politicians, I would ask that you think of women, and even more, don't be afraid to think like women. Thank you very much.